What up, y'all? Mrs. Zoo Nation, aka Savage Armor Junior Rafa, coming at you another top five. Man, it's been a long time since I did one of these, and I'm glad to be doing them again. So, today's top five, I'm going to be talking about the top five best villains from the Vanguard series. So, this is how it's going to go. For one, it's going to be the original Vanguard series and the G series. It's going to be combined, so it's going to be from either or. We're not going to focus on the V series because it just started and we don't necessarily have a true villain yet. So, of course, we're just going to leave that one alone. Second, I will not be counting any reverse characters because I feel like that should be a list on its own. Three, as much as I originally wanted to, I'm not really going to count Aichi. I kind of feel like that's kind of not only a low blow, but I can't necessarily see a reason on why considering him a villain if it was just for that one particular season. Also, he was technically reversed, and I know that's like mainly season 3, not season 4. So yeah. Anyway, without further ado, let's get this list started. And fifth best villain in the series. All right, so the reason why I decided to choose Valos is because out of all of the characters, when it came to the apostles, he was kind of sort of the best one. But, hear me out. Let's be real. Most of the apostles were trash. Let me explain one by one. Starting with Siori. Okay, so I can kind of give Siori a pass. The reason why I can give him a pass is because he was one of the original villains in the Diff Riders, like in the previous season, and basically he's only in the Apostles just to get revenge. So I guess he can kind of sort of cut him some slack. He's still a trash player though, but yeah, I guess you can kind of give him some slack. Second, you have Chaos Breaker Dragon, which was just nothing but like a true troll. So I can't necessarily count him as a decent apostle anyway, but keep him in mind. Next, you have, I guess still, where do I even begin? This dude did so much flexing and didn't even do not one single thing. He had one match and even had a slight advantage because he was every time Ibuki took damage, that was more straight on his heart. You would think that he would have won that, but nah. Kronos comes in, saves the day, and still gets his ass kicked. And the sad thing is, he's supposed to be the fucking leader. So why? Next, you have Bugbay, aka Gordora. You know what? I'm going to give her a pass because, and no, this is not because I'm a Mega County player, and no, it's not because Gordora's Bay. It's mainly because her story actually her story is actually more detailed in the lore. You see, the thing about all of the units that's been diff rated, basically all of their stories went more towards the unit's lore. And I feel like because Gerdora has such an interesting and detailed story within her lore, and basically a more interesting reason on why she was like there in the first place. I mean, honestly, she really wasn't there to really, you know, unleash the beast with geese. She was actually there just so she could find a way to take over Cray with everybody being distracted. So it's a little bit understandable. Then you have Alakides, which basically was a little bit of a suck up, but at the same time, you can kind of understand why. It's fucking Gridora. So, I mean, you can't really like blame him if you really think about it. But anyway, um, enough with that. Now you have Valos. The reason why I decided to make him number five is basically because, um, he basically had a lot more character development compared to all the other apostles. And at the same time, his attitude changed throughout. I mean, it was kind of interesting where he was all calm and collected at first, and basically he was there just to get revenge on Fetus. But then he started to become a true psychopath, and it started to turn out he was more like, I don't know. He was an interesting psychopath, and I thought that was a pretty interesting turn of events because you would never expected him to be a psychopath for one. For two, I do think that out of everybody, he lasted long enough to be entertaining. And I think that was basically one of the major reasons why I think that he was a better villain than the Apostles compared to everybody else, except for Ghidorah. Ghidorah is always going to be number one, but that's besides the point. Anyway, long story short, Valos is basically an interesting villain despite not lasting that long. And I will admit, I do think that it was interesting how he left and got undifferented because he was ready to kill a motherfucker. He was ready to stab a bitch. So you got to give him credit on that. Coming in at number 4 is Ren Suzumagori. I think I'm saying that right. I'm probably butchering it, but that's besides the point. The point is Ren. Now I love Ren in season 1, especially when he was under the influence of Psyqualia. Ren after that was trash. I'm sorry. I know there's a lot of people who likes him. I know he's one of the most popular characters when it comes to the series in general. And yeah, I understand that there's like a lot of fangirls with him too. A lot of people who likes him. Understandable. I get it. But he was annoying in season 2 and beyond. And the thing that made him annoying was that he was not only a klutz, he was a fucking airhead. And it was like, he says some of the dumbest stuff you will ever see. He has some of the dumbest dialogue you have ever heard here. And this is basically because, you ever seen that thing where like the kids, you're on a long trip and whatnot, and like the kids in the back is asking, "Are we there yet?" And they keep asking, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" That's fucking Ren. He would do something like that. I feel like the final straw was when they were doing the final tournament in the Asia circuit, and he didn't even recognize that whatever I forgot what the persona that Tetsu took over. I think it was like something X. I can't exactly remember what the name of it was. We're just gonna call him X. So when Tetsu took over the form of X, Ren didn't even recognize him. And I'm sitting here like, how the fuck you not gonna recognize? He didn't even change his fucking outfit. He wears the same fucking thing. How can you not figure out that that's Tetsu? Not to mention he's using dark irregulars. He didn't really change his hairstyle that much. All he did was put a mask on. This is worse than fucking Superman. Superman, all he did was take his glasses off and slightly put his hair like to the side or something like that. He probably like slightly like put gel on it, put a suit on, and nobody never knew that this nigga was Clark Kent. The fuck? Okay, and then that's the exact same thing with like Static Shock. The only black dude in fucking North Dakota and nobody knew that this nigga was Static Shock. What type of fuck shit is that? But anyway, enough with that. The reason why I decided to choose Ren as the number 4 best villain in this series is because during the time he was under the influence of Psyqualia, he was probably one of the most savage villains that we have ever had. He has some of the most savage dialogue. Everything that this dude was straight up, everything that this dude did was like, that shit was fucking golden. One of the things is like, when it came to him being under the influence of Psyqualia, he predicted the card that he was going to beat you with. Sometimes it's a grade 0, sometimes it's a grade 1, sometimes it was like a grade 3. But regardless, he said that this is going to be the unit that I'm going to beat you with. In 99.9% of the time, that's true. He actually beat the person with that particular unit. And I thought that was pretty funny in my honest opinion. But I feel like the thing that got me sold was the time when they were in the second finals. Not the first time that Team Q4 fought him, but the second time. And Misaki just got done beating Asuka. And Asuka was like looking all like pissed and everything like that because she knew that Ren was going to give her the boot. But it was funny because at the end of the day, Ren kind of played it off like, okay, yeah, you kind of lost. It's understandable, but I'm afraid we're going to have to ask you to leave. So, she takes, she like walks away and stuff like that. And she's about to, boo hoo cry and stuff like that. And then it's funny because he's all like, hey, Asuka, wait. And it's funny because she like lights up because she's all like, maybe he's gonna spare me. Maybe he's gonna make sure that I actually stay on the team somehow and actually forgive me for my loss. You know what this nigga does? He straight up says, and I quote, "Don't forget your deck." Man. And then she was just heartbroken. And I was like, that had to be one of the most funniest things I have ever saw. And it was so fucked up. And I know if there's a certain person watching this, I know she's about to kick my ass after seeing this. So forgive me, senpai. But anyway, man, Ren, in my honest opinion, when it came to the Saikaya, he was a straight up beast. I will admit that. Ren after that was trash, but Ren under Saikaya was beast. Coming in at number 3, and I know I'm going to butcher this, Yuichiro Kanzuki, my boy. Weakness is a sin. One of the best quotes I've heard from anything. Nigga, I want that as a tattoo. Weakness is a sin. Bruh, this dude was a straight up savage. I just talked about how savage Ren was under the influence of Saikaya. Kanzaki puts that to shame. Puts that to hell of shame. You want to know why? This dude had like a similar premise, When Ren figured out that you lost the match under his name of Team Galaxy, you were instantly kicked out. Kazaki was like, okay, I'm not going to kick you out, but I'm going to make sure you never live this down. If you lost to this person, I'm going to make sure you remember that for the rest of your life. And this is going to be the inspiration for you to become a better player. And I thought that was pretty interesting. He was a very interesting villain when it came to season 1. In my honest opinion, I feel like that he was low-key one of the more saving graces of Vanguard G, because I remember when it first came out, nobody really liked it. Everybody was kind of mad because not all the original characters was there and stuff like that. And at first, nobody really liked Chrono and everybody else. But I feel like, in my honest opinion, Kanzaki was the saving grace of the fucking show. But sadly, he wasn't in season 2 because he went to the mountains and stuff like that. But then season 3, it turns out that this dude went to the mountains his whole time, and he was just being there, just training. But I think the most interesting thing about him is that even though he's reformed and he's no longer a villain, he is still such a dick because he's all like, yo, I know you trying to come to the mountains to get, some advice from me and stuff like that or get some personal training, but bruh, I don't care if you came here from the fucking North Pole. If you don't give me some fucking food, I ain't dealing with your ass. Take your ass, get to stepping. I thought that was actually pretty funny, in my honest opinion. It was like you had to literally bribe this dude with food in order to get his attention. He didn't care if you walked through hell and back. If you didn't give this dude any food or give him some type of thing to bargain, your ass had to get to stepping. I'm sorry. Now, I will admit, he didn't have probably one of the better decks out of everybody, though. I mean, Clarence Sword is kind of meh. And I will admit, I do think that they kind of improved on him a lot when it came to season 4 and whatnot. But outside of that, still a straight up savage. Number 2, Chaos Breaker Dragon. Okay, now hear me out. Chaos Breaker Dragon was not only the villain for G, he was also the villain slightly for season 3 of Vanguard. He did cause a lot of issues in season three of Vanguard, and I do think that his role in Vanguard GZ actually kind of meant something. You know, he basically reappeared in Vanguard Next, and then eventually reappeared in, Vanguard Z with like a more prominent thing. I like how he actually decided to undiff-ride himself for Noah just to re-diff-ride himself back just to, trap Noah's other two teammates. I thought that was actually pretty interesting in my honest opinion. And honestly, I didn't even know that was even possible. But man, throughout the whole series of GZ until the time that he loses, he basically just trolls everybody. He ain't even trying to like summon he's not even really trying to summon geese. He's just trying to like make everybody's life a living hell. And I thought that was actually pretty interesting. I even thought that one of the more weird things about Chaos Breaker was after he lost the battle between Aichi and Kai, that he still not only let Noah keep his deck of the updated cards of Chaos Breaker Dragon, but also made it to where everything where Geese was just about to come up and stuff like that, it made everybody in danger. I thought that was actually pretty cool in my honest opinion. I thought that was a cool move and that was actually pretty good in my honest opinion. I know I just said that twice. But anyway, um one of the more interesting things about Chaos Breaker Dragon is that he not only trolled in the show, he trolls in real life. Chaos Breaker probably has to be one of the most hardest decks to ever go against in this game, and as a result, it had a lot of people quit the game because of this card in general. And man, if it turns out that one card is the exact reason why you decided to quit the game of Vanguard, that is saying something. You know, Chaos Breaker Dragon is just one of those cards you never want to go against because he has so much field advantage for no apparent reason. And I do think that because of that, he has to probably be one of the best villains in the show. I mean, because he not only affected people in the show, he also affected people in real life. So, in my honest opinion, Chaos Breaker Dragon is the second best villain in the Vanguard series. Before I get to my number one, I like to point out an honorable mention. Actually, a couple. One of them is Kyo. Kyo is not necessarily a interesting villain in my honest opinion, but he at the same time I have to give him the dedication that he has of trying to beat Kai. I think that was pretty funny. It kind of reminded me like of Team Rocket, but like a little bit better because it's like every time Keo lost, he tried to come back 10 times harder. And rather, this was either trying to form a whole team or trying to like change the deck altogether. He just tried to find different ways of beating Kai. He tried to find different ways of beating everybody. And yeah, he's a very salty asshole though, but he's a very interesting salty asshole. Second, I just have to put Gridoran somewhere on his list. And, the only reason why I'm not putting Gridoran on the list is because I feel like this is more of a personal choice instead of a fair choice. And I honestly didn't think that that would have been fair if I put like Gridoran in this at all. So, Bug Bay is honorable mention. Anyway, who do you think is the number one villain in the show? It's the one person you would have never expected. Ryuzu Momoji. Okay, so for anybody who's known me for a while, you probably gonna say, well, this is basically a personal choice. But hear me out. Hear me out. Hear me out. It is true that Ryuzu was probably one of my more favorite villains and probably the one that I was actually rooting for to actually win, knowing that he wasn't going to win. But if you think about it, Ryuzu caused more trouble to the main cast of characters than any other villain in the show. And here's the reason why. So during season 4, when everybody was figuring out the whole diff writing thing, it was revealed that the reason why the diff writing happened in the first place was because Ryuzu opened that gate in between Planet Krei and Earth. So basically, the reason for season 4 and season 5 happening is because of what Ryuzu did in season 3. Not to mention that Ryuzu was an on and off villain in the first season of the Vanguard. So, in my honest opinion, he caused a lot more mischief than any other villain in the show because it's like when when Ren and Leon was under the influence of Psychoia, it didn't really have like a super lasting effect. It wasn't like, oh yeah, the portal thing that happened at at the end of the Asia circuit, that somehow fucked up the climate change or some shit like that. Nah, none of that happened. It was just like a whole okay, it's forgive and forget based thing. Nothing really happened. When it came to like what's home dude's name from season 3, when it came to him, nothing really that bad happened. Besides season 4 kind of sort of happening with the whole Lee Joker thing and basically the reason why Aichi kind of sort of went evil in a way, but not really evil. So in my honest opinion, it was like okay, it had like a little bit of a lasting effect, but not long enough to actually affect anybody in the G series. But man, ever since Ryuzu appeared in season 1, this dude's been doing nothing but causing mischief. But man, did none of that everything change when season 3 happened? Not to mention, in my honest opinion, see, Strygate has to be the darkest version of Vanguard that we ever, the darkest season we ever had in Vanguard, and that's just me. I don't know about everybody else, but I felt like that out of all the Vanguard seasons, that was the darkest that we ever had. People were like nearly dying left and right, and people actually died left and right. Remember, like Shion got crushed by that boulder and died technically. But anyway, and all of this was just to get a perfect world, which isn't really necessarily a bad motivation, but he got himself killed not once but twice just to get this whole perfect world. He died once as an old man, and he died once again technically after he lost the chrono. I mean, technically, I consider that a death. I mean, the zoo literally went backwards and reset himself as a baby. Ryuzu's a beast. I'm sorry. He has to be the best villain that Vanguard has ever had. And with that being said, if you enjoyed this list, like, comment, subscribe, do whatever. My name is Zoo Nation, aka Savage Armor Joan Giraffa, signing out.